Welcome to another beautiful day. It is a sunny day, so I am smiling, and another day of Dose of Did You Know, where intriguing, unique, inspiring individuals come to talk love and life and where it has got them in their life. And with me today is Mr. John. How are you? Coach Mac. I love that. Coach Mac.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
I love nicknames. Like, I'm Coach Danny. I have been Coach Danny since I was 18 years old. I will probably die as Coach Danny. And it's gone from like 2-year-old children all the way up to like 80-year-old, men. I don't know. That's how I'll be. I think you'll always be Coach Mac.
Yeah, well, thank you. I picked it because I always said when you're an instructor, you're supposed to be like lean and mean. But as a coach, you can have a beer belly and you can be sitting out there on the track, on the football field, yelling at people. And I thought coach is a better term. I can keep getting older as a coach. Instructor is like this perishable type.
Oh, no. That's like, oh, you're on a pedestal. You can like let go a little bit, have a tweaky now and then. Stop it. No, you don't.
You can have a limp. You can do all sorts of stuff. It's great.
It's cool. But before we get started, tell the world a little bit about who you are.
Okay. We're subject in the world. But I'll do that. I'm a former Navy SEAL. I spent about 10 and a half years in the Navy. Got in as a cryptologic technician in the intelligence field. Got the bug, like so many veterans do, so many military folks do, to kind of climb that ladder, and ran into the SEAL team program while I was out of school in San Diego, and just caught the infection, I would say, or the virus, and had to go down that road. So fantastic background, some of the most amazing people I've ever worked with and continue to work with. I run the Navy SEAL candidate program in Southern California. And so I still get to put on a uniform as a civilian every couple times a week and go out there and train the future of that. So it's always free for all the candidates, by the way. So anyone who's ever interested, let me know. But when I got out in the, mid-90s, and started doing a lot of things that a lot of the vets do out here. Went to private investigation, security type things. And over the last 25, 30 years, just kind of navigated through. My interest has always been in how to remove obstacles to success. How do we increase physical performance, mental performance? How do we decrease domestic violence, post-traumatic stress, suicide? As I see these things, they're all connected. To a great leadership program is a anxiety prevention and response program, right? It's hard to be an amazing, well-rounded leader and not be constantly training yourself like you do. I know enough about you long enough now to know you're in this training program. Keep yourself going, right?
Yeah.
As we talked about, there's no finish line. So we end up having to get up tomorrow and say, okay, I'm going to go left or I'm going to go right. I get to have a little bit of direction here. And then life pounds you, throws you left sometimes, when it goes.
Those are the exciting bumpy roads that we need, that give us character. I have a lot of character inside here.
They sure do. You do. Yes, I believe that. I met you through a mutual friend, and now we're here. So I, over the last 20 years, I'm going to encapsulate my 54 years in this next 30 seconds. So I really started to focus on why isn't everyone an amazing leader? Why do we still have so much post-traumatic stress? Why do we have 4 topics on the news and we call that news? Why are we so easily kind of duped? And then this greatness come out of people, this incredible greatness. So I started to do what a lot of people did, look at the brain chemistry. And, I wanted to answer the question of why is a corporate culture always falling apart? Why is there really not a corporate culture in most places that talk about corporate culture? What's happening? Where's the, and how much is human capital worth? We got a bunch of veterans on your show. So they have human capital, like, they have human capital training. Who at 19 gets to call for fire or put a jet in the air or fly one or do all these things? Who at 19 years old, but the military gets to do things that most people in a corporation will never do, and they will never be considered experienced enough to do. They will take you at 19 as a military person and have you put a jet in the air or launch explosive rounds 200 yards from your friends. There's an incredible responsibility there. So I like to help vets with the transition and whatnot. But over the last bunch of years, I've developed a series called Leadership Biomechanics. We talk about physical biomechanics all the time, right?
Yeah.
And we break down exercise and all this. But we don't break down leadership into, and you and I talked about it earlier, because leadership isn't what you do. It's who you are when you do it, right? It's our self-awareness. It's us working our path. It's us doing the next mental bicep curl and understanding how to do that. So that's how I spend my time now. I divide it in what I call violence prevention and response, which can be domestic violence, stalking, harassment, or working with corporations, educational institutions, religious institutions, whatever, communities, on how to actually build a culture and develop people so that we're not defaulting all the time to anxiety, fear, aggression, all these things. So that's me.
Okay, so I have so many things. First, I got to start with, whenever I hear someone's like analyst or things like that, I'm like, are you analyzing me now? Do you walk around analyzing people? I got to know.
No, and I love the question. I always say labeling people, and we live in this world where people have all sorts of therapists and things like that. And I always say, the more we're developing ourselves, the less we're analyzing people, right? We're actually paying attention to ourselves, right? You don't ask your 5-year-old to understand why they don't want to hang out with someone. We kind of accept it. We might want to understand.
Right.
The older we get, the more we start to say, oh, maybe I should figure you out. And I think maybe we should figure humans out and be aware of ourselves, because I don't analyze people at all, in my view. But again, that's one of those terms that's perception. Everybody defines it differently. So what I want to do is I listen for what people keep complaining about, what's to be an obstacle for them rising higher. I say, well, I train the Navy SEAL candidate program, for example, and they're always asking, how do you not quit? And I was thinking, what other system in the world says, could you train me to not quit? How about we train you to be the top 10%? How about, does anybody ever say, how do I not fail the bar exam? It's how do I do really well at the bar exam? It's only in our military programs that we do that. So no, not analyzing at all. I'm really trying to pay attention to me so that I'm in the right place to facilitate a conversation, because, I won't live long enough to know much, right? Everything's new. Psychology new. Chemistry's new under test to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I always feel like when we talk about analyzing, I don't at all. That's like, I do not have an analytical thought probably. And that's why I surround myself of other people that are.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
But I feel, right? So it's like, I feel when I meet someone, when I saw your face for the first time, I had this immediate feeling. And I have learned to recognize, how am I feeling, and how is that feeling and that energy then that I'm putting off, that they're putting off, and how are we going to do this dance?
Yeah, so true. I love it. It's such a great, and everything you're saying is measurable in chemistry, right? Everything you're saying, that's the same dance people are doing negatively when they're aggressive or negative or hostile, and they're attracting someone who takes it, delivers it, returns it, whatever. That's the same dance. It's just one's in your limbic system and one's in your, executive function, your frontal lobe, all those things. It's just, you said a term earlier that I loved, connected or disconnected. And I love it because it's just brain. I talk about this a lot. I always say it's just chemistry. So all those great words you just used, they're measurable. They're not mystical. We can demonstrate that chemistry to say, we could have thought this way, or we could have thought this way about that. And you get to choose it. One shuts down your brain from higher level thinking and all these things. And the other one opens it up, which is scary. Scary, right? Opening up your brain is scary. Unlimited possibility. What's freakier than that?
Well, it actually to most is, because the unknown, we're so in a control state, majority of us, right? When I know that I'm miserable, and sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, how did you age so fast overnight? That is the sure sign that I am off balance here, and I've got to do some inside work, because it really is. When I feel like stifled in my love, I feel like it comes out, like
Yes. Yeah.
spews out of me.
Yeah. I say all the time, there's a series I do for high school and college, college students and whatnot. And I'll watch over the 20 or 30 hours. Most of it's virtual now, which is amazing because now I get to work in 5 or 6 countries with it.
Cool.
And you'll watch people and people say, oh my gosh, look at them. They're like a different person. Because getting rid of that anxiety, minimizing it, we're not going to get rid of anxiety, as you and I talked about before. It's part of every day. We're just making it less a part. So, and you watch people's look change and you start saying, wow, what's up with them? What did they do? They just started living a different chemistry. And of course, as you said, it comes out, it shows up. It's like a free facelift, except because I've gotten in this last year, I was like, man, I'm getting older at light speed now. It's crazy. It's like, and all of a sudden the snooze button on getting older just got taken off my alarm clock. And now I'm like, taken off.
Are you in San Diego? No, this is off topic.
Well, no, it's okay. I actually am in Los Angeles right now, but I'm just visiting. The main hub of the Navy SEAL candidate program, Team Eagle One, if anybody's ever interested, is in Los Angeles. And so I just left Berkeley. I was working with the Sikh community up there, the Sikhs, and that contract finished because Berkeley, there's no students there. So we had moved online and finished that contract up there. So I came down here and looking at another couple of corporations or institutions. So to do leadership biomechanics, culture creation, development. Yeah. For your listeners, I always have a free, every week I do parts of a free series because I love doing it. And I feel like one, volunteer work is you should always do something for free, but 2, I get to hear from people that I would never meet if it wasn't on Zoom. Like that's how you and I met, which is amazing. Yeah. So it changes my, I don't know these things. They're constantly being developed. They can be measurable in brain chemistry, but my objective is that every time we do a leadership biomechanics series or culture creation or academic or train the military folks, active duty or candidates, is that when they're 54, they're thinking about things I can't imagine because they're it took me till I was 40 before I stopped being an idiot about everything and only started being half an idiot. Right. I probably won't live long enough to actually not be an idiot. So I'm some level of idiot. So I'm trying to say, okay, we help all these people over here. They're going to be able to teach their kids and their peers stuff that I can't fathom right now.
No. You open up. I always say, like, I was talking to my friend David Johnson this morning, actually, and I was like, he's like, what was this, realization that you had? And my realization was, it was basic, right? My realization was that I was stifling a love. Like I used to like not love at all. I was like, you're not touching me. I'm not hugging you. I will not say I love you unless you're my children or my brother or my father kind of thing. And I had this eye-opening 40s. Something happens in 40s. 40s are awesome. I was scared of 40 for so long. And then I hit 40 and I was like, well, I better embrace it because it's here. It's happening.
I'm just happy I lived that long. Now at 54, I'm like, whoo, it's all good from here.
Yeah, I'm like, it's fantastic. There's so much growth coming on. But I really said, like, I'm going to lead with love. Like, and that is the scariest thing, I think. Like, it is so freaking unknown. But this is long-winded, is that every time you lead with love and you get this new realization, you love deeper and harder. So my realization was, I was like, holding in love for somebody. Like I was like, I'm not going to share this with the world that I feel this love. And that's what it was like killing me. I'm like, this goes against everything that I have worked every day to become, of just like letting my love spew, overflow, whether people accept it, reject it, that's not in my control. But the point of this is that it's a new level. It's a new level that I didn't even know existed. So when I had that realization yesterday, I swear I'm like 10 years younger and I am so happy, right? Yeah. Now there'll be another level that I'll eventually kind of go through, like this down and up thing. But man, when you just like open up, when you give, you don't know what will come of it, right?
Yeah, and here's the chemistry of that. Like when I used to hear this years ago, I would kind of think, okay, yeah, touchy feely, kumbaya, sing a
Yeah.
song, right? And what I realized too is if you look at it like for any like all those veterans out there, like I need to be angry, I need to be super aggressive. We look at like the samurai lifestyle,
Mm.
saying they were out planting in the fields, doing all their stuff. They became better fighters, right? Our default setting is to default to our limbic system, right? We're born to work in fight, flight, and freeze as because we have to evolve. You said it, we have to evolve. We have
Hmm.
to connect to those higher functions. Well, it's 25 before we really have developed those higher functions, 25 years old.
Hmm.
So our brain chemistry is actually leaning us towards keep watching the news, keep being terrified, pick up your prejudice, pick up your bias, minimize your IQ, hold back your empathy, your self-respect, which is what when I hear you talking about not like expressing that, I always feel like it's actually my self-respect I'm holding down.
Yes, yes.
You said, no way, I actually have self-respect. And that means projecting that out there. It's just chemistry. So uh, for the people out there that really hear you the way you're saying it, it's great. And for those people said, oh, come on, it sounds so touchy-feely. No, it's the chemistry between your limbic system and the rest of your brain that no one knows its limitations, right? In the SEAL teams, they say we're capable of 10 times more than we think we are. That's a small number because we're Navy guys. We can't count very high, right? It's probably thousands of times. It's just that I'm a military guy and I only have 10 fingers. So that's the best I can do is give you that number, right? So it's just chemistry that
Yeah.
all of a sudden you open that up. And like you said, it's like someone fed you because you're training it. People seem to expect themselves to be like like emotional and mental Olympic athletes with no training. My
Mm.
so, and what you just said is you finally decided you were going to start training for Olympic level self awareness and project that out. I use the expression a lot. There's only one kind of respect, it's self respect, because you can't disrespect anyone unless you disrespected yourself. They
True.
might be offended by a word you used or whatever, but that's their thing. That was a word you used respectfully.
Hmm.
So if they want to choose the word blue and have it be offensive or green or purple and have it be offensive to them, then that's great. But self-respect. So I love what you
That's
said.
great.
And when you said it was killing you, it is killing you. It's measurably crushing your immune system. It's
Yes.
driving you to eat, undereat, overeat, drink. It's driving you to do more of those things that might have been enjoyable, but now they're excessive. And who
Yeah.
hasn't? Which one
It's
of you?
suffocating. It's
Yeah,
suffocating.
that's
Totally suffocating. When you talk about leadership, I always think like some people are natural leaders. They just people flood to them. Do you feel that it's because they have this kind of just organic way about them? This humility, this humbleness, this ability to like read and accept and not feel that and be not feel like they have to be perfect, right? Like love their faults. Again, it's a growing thing, but I'm talking about a very genetic, primitive baseline.
There sure is some support for that. There's some support. I think the main reason we argue nature and nurture so much is they're both so engaged. But if we also look at nature, we look at evolutionary nature, right? We have generational trauma. But we all, Jared Diamond, an old book, writes Guns, Germs, and Steel, saying you can look at the evolution of a society based on what they could grow,
Right.
what they could mine and all these things, and saying, well, of course they would tend to have less violence. Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells us that I use every class, the pyramid that I dismissed in college, I now use every day to demonstrate the evolution of what you're talking about. So I think there is so much involved in nature and nurture that in my mind it kind of runs together. I can start talking about one and I realize I'm talking about the other. And then we have generational. We have, every continent's been there's been people on these continents thousands of years of living away and immigrating a certain way. And you talked about this earlier. We've kind of potato chipped into excessive concern to where we're anxious about our care and our appearance or our communities to where we get apathetic and lackadaisical. Well, now, like this conversation, we're coming back to the middle, actually saying it wasn't way over here and it wasn't, sorry, way over here. It was actually right here, like climbing up there. So I think there's a lot to be said for nurturing. And then there's a certain type of charisma. And it's dangerous, right? It's dangerous to have a really positive fault. I mean, a really positive strength and not promote others.
Yeah.
Like I always say, if you want to bring up the bottom end, we say this in the military training program, I actually help the top end and they will inspire people to the bottom, but the program is available to all.
Mm.
Right? There's equal opportunity, right? Is I always tell the leaders, if you want that back end to run or walk faster, then you run and walk faster in a race, not to push them, things like that. So it's an amazing time. It's the first 50 years where we're really turning around saying you could say what you just did and we can demonstrate it in measurable chemistry. And that's incredible because everything you said is testable over and over and over. You know, when we get anxious, there's test studies that show very interesting, and some people listening might laugh at this because they hear it in themselves. When we get anxious or irritable, we can lose up to 30 IQ points, just like that. 30 IQ points. What's that put me at? -10, right? I don't have enough IQ points to go lose 30. So every time you get anxious and we don't train ourselves around it, or we don't wait the right amount of time to process that negative chemistry, which is like a half an hour to 90 minutes. It's a long freaking time. So we are dumbing ourselves down. We can't activate the part of our brain that has empathy and self-respect. Horrible.
That is, so now I which triggers me into thinking like,
you're triggered.
Faith. I'm triggered. My anxiety, talk about anxiety triggered. So like when I get these thoughts of anxiety, right? The worry, whatever's coming, it's just like that icky feeling, right? And I've kind of trained myself. If it's icky, this is not coming from a place of love, and it doesn't serve a purpose in my body or my thoughts. So I have faith. Not everybody has faith, whatever, but so you can speak on this as having faith or not having faith. I don't really care, but I go straight to faith of that. Okay, I'm obviously given this lesson of anxiety, of whatever the thought is, to either break my habitual habits, because a lot of them come from like habits of thoughts of lack, right? Like I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, blah, 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 which is not factual at all. Like if you look at the facts, but what we never think of that. Like I was actually tested in school. My mother tested me. I don't know if she thought I was stupid or smart, not sure which one, but she made me then test my IQ, and I was like genius. And they're like, Danielle, you're genius. Now you have to get all straight A's. I'm like, pressure. So I must have to drop out and get pregnant. I don't know. I went the total opposite way of it. But
it's another great response though is, whoa, you just opened up, you just pushed me into a world that I hadn't developed myself into.
Right.
I'm going to collapse that building right on top of me.
Yep. Which led to these habits, these thoughts. So now when I get to anxiety, I go back to my point is I go straight to faith. Like, okay, this is not truth. This is a fact of a yicky feeling. This is not a truthful feeling. And then from there, I'm like, okay, this is where my faith comes in. And it's just like, I'm going to release whatever I'm feeling to you because I don't need to control it. I know if there's crap coming my way, it's a lesson I need to learn and I will work my way through it. Right. Yeah. Or it'll just kind of clear its way up and it was just a false, habit thinking. So talk to me about that. Like that's my own tools that I've developed.
Brilliant. It's like pure chemistry. So, and here's the thing, you just described a perfect example of first of all, we can all get, I'm going to use the term depressed I talk a lot about the pathway of negative emotions, right? And that was created by one of the professors at Santa Monica College in Santa Monica, California, a bunch of years ago. I loved it. I heard it in the early 90s. Control, fear, anger, depression, right, is the fight, flight, freeze response. So in other words, we feel out of control of something, makes us anxious, afraid, something, whatever term you want to use for anxious. And then we get angry, irritable, frustrated, any word you want to use for angry. And then our chemistry depresses. So when I say depression, I don't actually mean you're having a negative thought necessarily. But when you wake up, I always say, we're all carrying water, right? I always say, you're getting, to use a military term, like we're carrying the water. Well, all of us get tired. You're carrying water 7 days a week in your life, every day. The parents out there, the people with families, the people who are higher or level leadership positions, psychological chemistry positions, all those things. So what you just said was brilliant. When you wake up and you recognize it, now you're making a decision. I am going to dive into it and I'm going to spiral it. Because remember, your brain wants to repeat things. So it's easy to say, I feel ugly. Let's repeat ugly. Let's find a thought that supports ugly and actually repeat ugly. And that keeps you from activating the part of your brain that says nothing logical, right? Acceptance of facts. When we're stressed or anxious or depressed, it's hard for us to accept facts. And you described it so brilliantly that you're waking up having to re-access the part of your brain that says, no, there's nothing factual about. I have said a lot of stupid things, but I am not stupid.
Right.
I have looked really horrible, but I'm stuck with this. This is what we got, right? And so I'm this smart and I'm not smarter and I'm not dumber. It's all of those things. What I call doing one thing, your one thing was, I'm going to connect back to the facts. There's nothing about your life that says you are this all the time. There's nothing about your life that says you are that. There's nothing about your life that says you're brilliant every day. It's actually, there's nothing that says anything extreme about my life. So it's all in chemistry. That everything you just said is completely measurable. As if we allow ourselves to spiral in the negative, and right, because negative happens. And sometimes you wake up and you're just tired. It's like you're holding a, I watch your posts every day. I see your show. That's a tremendous amount of energy. So you use the word faith, right? So if somebody doesn't want to say faith, which is fine for me, I love it. I've masters in spiritual psychology. I love all that stuff. And I always say, what you're really saying is it's not about I, it's about we. It's not about, am I safe? Am I older? Am I this? Am I that? Because I am older than yesterday. I love my thinking, but I'm one day closer to dying. It's a given. Hopefully, it's probably a given. I'm going to assume it's a given. So it's a difference between I and we. I am uncomfortable. I am tired. I am cold. Say it to the SEAL team candidates all the time, BUDS candidates all the time. The other idea is, how's my team? We use an expression in the SEAL teams. The teammate next to me is always more important than me. So if you get stuck in the I, you turn around. The same thing you said is, hey, I got things to do. I have people to connect with. That's faith. So whether people want to call it the we or faith or spirituality or God, it's the same thing. Whatever word works for your head. Whatever that is out there that's not I is whatever you want to call it. But I'm good with any term. So yeah, it's right there. Faith is super important. But you brought up the point of when we get stuck in depressed chemistry and anxiety or anger, the way out of it is to focus on the big picture. Whether you volunteer some time, whether you pray, whether you meditate, whether you go take a long shower because it's super repetitive and there's nothing to do in there, but chill out. That's getting you back connected to that part of your brain that's unlimited. Freaky. No one's been able to figure out any limitations in your positive chemistry. So far, it's unlimited.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So
I am intended to give like a 12-second answer, but I realize it is not my life. It's not my life.
No, and which spirals me into so many other ways of like manifestation and all this stuff. But we've run out of time, so we're gonna have to save that whole topic and where we're going for part two.
Yeah.
Part two of today.
I should have asked how long this was. Here I was, but now I know.
yeah, it's now. Right now is our time.
It's over right now. That's good.
Sometimes we need part twos, part threes. You can always tell when I'm intrigued and I'm loving it when I say those words.
Okay, thanks. Whew, good to know.
Well, now I just gave it away for everybody else that I didn't say a part two to. They're going to be like,
my self-worth isn't so much at risk right now. I'm good.
Crap. Stop that. All right, but before I let you go, because you have a lot going on, and I want to say this out loud so I don't forget. I'm going to message you because I think my very good friend is now part of something that you're doing. Anyways, this is off topic. I will talk to you afterwards about that. My last question for you, I ask that you answer with the first thing that comes to your heart or your mind. No holding back. In this moment right now, John, what does love mean to you?
Connecting.
Mm.
Connecting. Very simply, I protect my mornings, how my mornings start. And every day I wake up thinking, what could we possibly create to connect people to the side of us of faith, brain chemistry, call it whatever. But every day, creative connection, creative connection, creative connection.
Mm.
That's what it means to me, without question.
Yeah. I love that. It always like this, the answer to that question always sums up the person in some aspect. It's never been like, that's a wonky answer from you after 20 minutes I just like spent with you. So that is a perfect, makes perfect sense for me to hear you say that. Thank you again for sharing your life and your light with us here today. And everybody else out there, remember, as always, love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.